All right, so we're going to start today in this sort of there's all that stuff like soul retrieval, and I really don't know about soul retrieval, but I do feel like there is a thing about energy. Sometimes we give out too much of our energy and we need to call it back. So it's going to be calling back our own stardust energy. So I have my Ziggy Stardust t-shirt on in the interests of bringing in that David Bowie energy. The David Bowie in me recognizes the David Bowie in you, and calling back our own selves and selves into ourself so that our energy isn't radiating off in unknown directions, meandering aimlessly in someone else's field, but really coming into our own. So we're going to do a little bit of energy work, but with our hands eventually. But we'll start with hands on belly, hands on heart, without any sound, just breathing with eyes closed and just feeling into your own body, feeling into your own system. Just coming into this moment right now, feeling how it feels to be you. So, a long time ago, I had this dream. It was sort of the most metaphysical dream I ever had. And in the dream, I was like a point in space, and everything was radiating out and everything was coming back. And I feel like energetically, as we go through life, there is this energy radiating outward and energy returning. But sometimes we radiate out a lot of energy, and sometimes the return isn't as great. So that's the invitation, is to call in your heart energy, your gut energy, your instincts, even your intellectual mind, thinky energy. So we're going to use the theta breath, and then we'll probably do some humming, and then we'll probably do some other things. So the theta breath is just the soft hiss, very gentle, like steam releasing from a radiator. Breathing in through our nose fully, and then gentle hiss, exhale. And with this theta breath, let's invite in some micro movement. So almost finding midline, or finding like the energy center of our body. I could say the energy channel that's in the vertical, but letting it also have some volume. So maybe there's some side movement as well. We'll just work with the theta, finding that up, down, here I am energy in our body. I am here on the planet. Here I am between heaven and earth. And also, I can spread and I can return. I can spread and I can return within my own system in that central channel. And also having a huge amount of compassion for yourself and for your cells. Whatever you were doing your best. So not to criticize yourself for how you have been in the world or who you have been, but to come in with gentleness and kindness for whatever your experience of being is. And it may be that, like, oh, I'm not experiencing that right now, but maybe at some point in your life you have felt that. So you could even offer this practice to that person of you at that time, or in the future. When this happens, I'm offering this to future self or past self or current self. With the breath, letting go of any self-criticism, any shame, any guilt, any of the attacky emotions that you might attack yourself with, let them flow away. filling up as you inhale with all the good stuff, and then exhaling, making space for your energy to return, right? Letting go of anything that might be grippy and constricted to open up and create the spaciousness, the vacuum of self to draw the energy in. It's a weird way of putting it, but I feel like, oh, if I clear out these holdy, sticky, ucky parts, then there's more room to return with the good, clean, stardust energy. And just to take that to a layer deeper, sometimes these patterns that we have of maybe being too agreeable or saying yes to too many things, these have got us here, right? So these are coping mechanisms of being who we are in the world. And maybe they're not always the most functional, but we don't need to uh, criticize ourselves for that. This is how we have gotten to this point. So, softening in yourself, softening in yourselves, letting the critic just step aside and leave room for the inner healer, for the inner wisdom, for the energy to buffer up. And the other thing about energy and holding patterns is sometimes we have these holding patterns and these ways of being that have served us to be who we are. And if we let them be a little freer, there might be more spaciousness in that. But if we allow these patterns to shift really quickly, or if they do shift, it can be very destabilizing. So we want to also let our system heal in a way that feels um, sustainable and not overwhelming. So let's do this practice. It's with the hands, and it's kind of like we're going to take our hands, and when I do this with my eyes closed, or even with my eyes open, I think if I take my hands and sort of move them in towards myself, especially around my head, there's a place where I feel between my head and my hands, it's almost like I have this, let's just say it's your aura, just because we all know what an aura is. And it's not that I can see my aura, but I feel like I can feel my energy where, and it's not that it stops there, but there's definitely a place where when I start to push in beyond that, I can feel inside that I'm pushing into it. So you may have that. It may be a sense that's visceral or kinesthetic. You may feel it in your body, or it may just be in your imagination. It may just be an idea. But let's just come around our bodies as if we are feeling into that outer layer of this energy field, this like sort of boundary, and we are shoring it up. If there are any parts that have been leaking out where there's like a leak, we're just filling it in a very loving, gentle manner. So filling in with your hands, with your imagination, any kind of places where it feels like that might be a leaky place. As slow or as fast as you want. And it may be that one area feels like, oh, I really need to hang out here. It might just be that you can sense that sort of energy field more, or that you feel like, oh, this is a place where I'm offering too much. So there are movements that we can do that kind of close the circuit so the energy in our body comes back into ourself. Like it's like if we think of the spiraling up the Sushumna of the Ida and the Pingala like that. We can imagine that with our own body, when we enclose, that we are getting this contralateral movement, cross-body movement, and we can still hold the field of our energy. So anytime like we're coming into a position like this or just closing, wrapping around ourselves, we can think of closing the field of our energy or allowing like the energy of our body to return to itself. Like I can put my hands on the soles of my feet. And it's like we're closing the circuit, like I'm kind of coming into this. If I'm here, it's like a tetrahedral form. And I've got one hand on one foot, one hand on the other. And I'm just allowing myself to return to myself. And let's add a hum to this sound. So the hum will give us that sense of the sort of internal vibration in our body. Also allowing your tongue to free up so that your tongue is like a sea creature. I sometimes think of it like an eel in a cave just moving around, but eels I think kind of move laterally. This tongue is going to be moving up and down. So giving yourself, and I'm going to have my hands here on my feet. It can be any way that feels good to you, crossed, wrapped. Any kind of crossing, wrapping is like protecting the energy system. It actually feels better if I do it across my body. So working with the hum, maybe there are overtones in your head, maybe there's vibration, whatever comes in there, just invite it in. And eventually I will move out of this position and go down to the floor and probably add music. So I'll talk you through it when I get to that point. And you don't need to do what I'm doing. You can do anything that feels good to you. Sorry, I was going to hum, and then I started doing the theta. So working with a hum. Breathing in through your nose on the inhale. As I hum, because I have the little earbuds in, I can really feel where things are vibrating more. And as I move my tongue and my awareness, I can also like bring up more vibration in another area. So maybe you have access to that, maybe not. Maybe it's just vibration. If you feel like you aren't really feeling it, put your hands on like your throat or your jaw so that you can feel that somewhere on your body and feel into the bones, feeling that hum. Just to add one more thought to it, like we can think, oh, I'm returning myself and my own energy to myself, but we could also think that we're drinking the nectar of the gods. We're drinking the ambrosia. We're drinking in the yummiest, most delicious energy for our living system so that it's revitalizing and revibratizing our life force energy. So we're inviting in the sparkliest, juiciest, yummiest stardust, which we are made of anyway. So just inviting that back in, inviting in the dreaming part of yourself, the imaginal realm, the hopes, the beauty, inviting in the art, the creativity, the beautiful part, or even maybe it's like the analytical part that's just so good at organizing things, whatever it is, inviting in those things that are of celebratory interest to you. I could say inviting in this like perfect balance of the light and the shadow, because it is like within that magical space. It's not just brightness and light, it's also shadow and mystery. I feel like it's doing these kind of energetic practices and sound practice and body practices are really wonderful, but art can also be just incredibly healing, like just reading a poem or seeing a painting or making a dance or seeing a dance. So I'm going to get into that kind of space in my body, and I'm just going to add sound, which I think I already did, and play some music. So this is going to be ambient fields. Let's try 2. I'm not sure how this, I think it's pretty good. It might be a little more active, but that's okay. Yeah. Letting yourself recall your star energy, the energy of the stars, the energy of the cosmos, connecting to the cosmos, connecting to that big, big, big picture, and allowing it to feed you. And you can bring the sound in whenever you want. The hiss, the hum. You could even imagine like reaching out and reclaiming the threads of yourself that may have gone wandering off down the garden path. And you can also come back to this idea of sealing and healing the energy field. It's not sealing so that nothing can come and nothing can go, but it's just putting intelligence on that layer of, oh, should I be letting my energy out here, or should I be allowing energy in here? Inviting your body to take over the reins so that there's nothing to think about. How is this done? It's just an imagination practice. Maybe you feel it. It's a movement practice. It's a body practice. There isn't a right and wrong. We can gather in, we can scatter out, drawing in the nutrition and the nourishment that we need, letting go of what we don't need, which can change on a daily basis, right? It's not always the same. Allowing our spaciousness to be present in our awareness, or inviting spaciousness into our awareness. Inviting spaciousness into our bodily experience. I can be spacious. I don't need to clamp down. Even with my boundaries, I can have expansion and spaciousness. Even with my healthy boundaries. I can find this balance. And I can return and wash myself with that stardust, right? Returning to that alive, vital, flowing energy. This energy of being is interconnected, interwoven. So sometimes we think, oh, it's me, I did that thing. But really, I'm just part of all of the systems working together. And when I'm really true to my own system, I can feel, oh yeah, I should walk forward here, or I should back up. So inviting that intelligence into your system, deeply into your knowing, in an embodied way. Sometimes we feel like we have to do something. Oh, but I have to do it. But do we really have to do it? And sometimes we kind of do, or we think we do. So forgiveness for not always honoring with perfection our body's wisdom. Sometimes our generosity needs to be aimed at ourselves. Our sharing and our kindness needs to be aimed towards ourselves sometimes. Just bringing that in, having a few minutes of silence in your own experience. If you want to keep moving, of course, keep moving. Yeah, I think sometimes we have to go to the end of the line before we can go, wait a minute, go running back in the other direction. Oh, I'm going to end that recording.